Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and today we've got a fun little project. We're going to be using my new embroidery unit on my loaner Bernina 770 sewing machine. And we're going to be making these little earrings for my daughter. Isn't this cute? I'll show it to you on her here in just a second. In this beautiful pink thread. As a reminder, my Bernina 770 is a machine on loan to me by the University of Sewing. I've got a link down below. We will go over to the machine here in a second and I'll show you all the supplies we're going to be using. This is my first time to use my embroidery unit by myself. I took a class last week and went down and learned the basics of how to use the embroidery and all that kind of stuff. So I really wanted to try out the free form lace part of it. And so, yeah, this was kind of an experiment to see how it worked. We didn't do any of that in the class, so this was kind of my first time, although the instructor did give me some tips and tricks. So hopefully I'm able to show you what I did and kind of how I troubleshooted a couple of things. But I'm very pleased with them. I think that these turned out really cute and I would be interested in making more. And there seem to be a ton of different options, both I've got a few on my machine, but also I think just like 3 on my machine of the earring type. But then at OESD as well as Urban Threads, there were a ton of really cool designs. So very exciting. Sky's the limit and I'm very excited about trying embroidery on actual fabric for my next project. But yeah, we're going to go through. Again, you don't have to have a Bernina 770 to do this, or even a Bernina. I think a lot of this tips and tricks will work for whatever embroidery machine you have. So hopefully you'll get some useful information out of this no matter what machine you are using. Okay, number 1, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I'm all comfortable in my chair. I tell you, it has been a year so far here in 2023. I am very tired, if you can even tell. I'm filming this on Monday. As you all know, I'm from Kansas City, and our football team won the Super Bowl yesterday. So all the men, especially in my life, are very floating on air this morning. My parents were here this weekend, so we were able to watch the game with them here, which was lovely. My mom was able to travel. She has her last chemo treatment this week. So she's usually the best right before a new chemo treatment. You know, it's the longest amount of time without the chemo in her body. So they were able to travel out here and we had a wonderful little catch up and just did a few fun things around, did a little shopping. My birthday is, as I'm filming this, well, as you're watching this, my birthday is tomorrow. My birthday is the day after Valentine's Day. So they kind of came out here to celebrate that a little bit. We had a wonderful time. But guys, I tell you, I just have a lot going on so far in 2023, and I think by mid-March, you will know everything that has been going on kind of behind the scenes a little bit, and by mid-March, things should slow down because I'm not doing, I won't be doing so much secret things, plus stuff that you're seeing on the channel, and, you know, there was a lot of doubling up on work because I was doing a lot behind the scenes for some stuff you guys will see here soon, as well as things that you were seeing on the channel as well. So it's been a little bit of burning the candle at both ends. So if you've been noticing, thinking I'm looking tired, I am tired, but it's all good tired. This is a season in Tomcat Stitchery. It's just a very busy season. It will not be like this forever. So you really just mid-March, and then I think things will get to a more reasonable pace. But I was very excited about trying out these new little earrings, and I think my daughter's gonna like them. So yes, without further ado, and so this video isn't too long, let's go over to the sewing machine and we will figure out how to make the earrings. All right, let's go over what we are going to be using for today's project. The first thing we're going to need is cord. I'm using Isocord. This is Isocord 40. I'm using color 2550. Maybe you can see that. Again, this is all on sale right now at University of Sewing. They're having a big embroidery, 25% off all embroidery stuff on their site, and in store, which is lovely. which is why I got a whole bunch of isocore thread. But anyway, yes, I'm using this color 2550, which is a nice pink that's in my daughter's color palette. I am also using, these are kind of the big hitters. This is the OESD. I believe this is also on sale right now. For the stabilizers are all on sale as well. This is the Badge Master Wash Away. It's a really heavy duty wash away stabilizer. I'm going to be using in hooping 2 layers of this since we're doing freestanding lace basically. And we'll go through this in a minute, but this is the stabilizer I'm using. I will link it, this website down below. I've got my smallest of my embroidery hoops, and I think this is going to fit. We're going to play around with it a little bit. In addition, I have the little, stuck to that. I have the little grid here because I think I'm going to make my earrings. I'm not sure exactly how big they are, but this will pop the grid up on the computer screen of the machine, and then I can play around and I can size things up and down because this is a file that comes on my machine. It's easy to size it up and down, and the machine calibrate stitches and the density of stitches and all of that for that portion. So that's why I'm able to get away with the smaller one. If I were using an outside file, I think I would have to just, I think 20% is what they said was the rule. So I could make it 20% bigger or 20% smaller without messing it up any. But I have a more leeway with the designs that are already on the machine. Okay, I also have just some paper or some scissors, basically paper scissors. These are kind of just crappy scissors to cut my stabilizer. And I also have my duckbill scissors. I'm going to cut away this stabilizer from the edges of the lace before I soak it, just to help get as much of it away as possible before I soak the rest of it away with water. You'll need a bucket or a sink or something to wash away the rest of the wash away stabilizer. And then in my bobbin, typically with embroidery, you're using a bobbin thread, a thread that's specifically for the bobbin of the embroidery. But because this is freestanding lace, we want the back to look just as good as the front. So I was told to put the same thread into your bobbin that you would have in the top. So I've gone ahead and wound just about, this is one of the jumbo bobbins on Bernina, they're huge. So I've just wound it about halfway with the same, I don't want to waste my thread. About halfway with the same thread that I'm going to be using on the top. And again, that's really just because you want it to look the same. For this type of design, you want it to be the same on the front that it is on the back. So that'll be going into my bobbin. Other than that, I have a size 10. I have a size 10 Schmetz embroidery needle on the machine because I'm just sewing through the stabilizer. So a 12 or a 10 should be fine. That's for lighter weight fabrics. If I were doing something heavier fabric. And then at Joann's, I bought some of these Hildy and Joe earring backs. I bought the kidney ear wires as well as the lever back ear wires. And I think I can just, I haven't opened these yet, but I think I can just slide the design onto these. And so my daughter can just pick which design she prefers for the back of her earrings. So sorry, that's catching the glare. But yes, I bought my earring backs at Joann's. Okay, and I think that is everything. So let's go over to the machine and get this all set up. All right, so let's get the machine set up before we do anything else. So I've taken the table off. Technically, the table can stay on for this machine, but I have gone ahead and just taken it off because I'm using the small hoop anyway. So taken off my table just to get it out of the way. For my class, I did have it on, but taking it off for today because it was a little bit more fiddly. All right, so here is my embroidery unit. Got my little things here. I just want to pull my thread out of the way. I have the isocord in my bobbin as well as in the top thread. I have this foot on my machine. Obviously, I have a Bernina 770. I'm sure you can do this. This would work the same for any embroidery machine, but I'm just going to walk you through the specifics of mine in case you are using my machine. But I'm using the embroidery foot, and for my machine, that happens to be foot 26. Although in my class, I know there was some confusion. I guess they have a new foot that's a foot 9 that also works. But this is foot 26 that is on my machine, and again, a size 10 Schmetz embroidery needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise this up at an angle. So you see I'm raising that up so that I can slide those in, and then I set it down. Just like so. Okay, so now I'm pretty sure my embroidery units on. Again, I just took a class on this. I also wanted to show you, excuse the lights, my thread. I just have it on the regular pin spool instead of my machine also has a upright pin spool. But in order, I'm also on the tripod, sorry about that. But you want your thread to pull off the top. So if I had used that spool, it would be pulling from the side over. You can alternatively get one of the pin spools that is separate from your machine that has the little, like a serger, has the little thing that comes up that then you run the thread through. You just need to make sure you would run it through this little thing if you were using one of those. So, and I think the Bernina also sells like a table that attaches to the back where you can put a whole bunch of different embroidery threads on it. Those you can thread, they thread up, but it's all meant to just, you don't have to go through this because it's all meant to be configured together. So. Just a little side note. Okay, so embroidery. Okay, let me turn off the light of this tripod because that's going to be problematic with the glare. Okay. All right, so like I mentioned, I'm going to be using a file that's already on my machine. So the first thing I need to do is I need to go to the home screen, and I'm going to pick embroidery. And it's telling me to lower my feed dogs. Ugh, so I will do that. Okay, now it's taking me to my embroidery files here. You can purchase embroidery files as well. I know that OESD, I'll leave a link down to them. That's the stabilizer I'm using, the brand, but they've got a whole bunch of embroidery files. And I believe Margaret at University of Sewing told me they had a whole bunch of like dollar ones where you could, just buy a whole bunch of these little files for $1. She said it was addictive. So I would definitely go have a look at that. But also the freestanding lace earring. I also was able to find some pretty easily at Urban Threads. So again, I'm still pretty new to this embroidery stuff, so I'm sure there's many more options out there. I'm just not aware of them. But those were two that I found that had some really good selection. So just something to think about. Again, I will be using a file that is already on my machine. But so I'm using from my machine, so I have my machine selected. If I were had my laptop plugged in, or if I were using a USB stick, I would use this button here, and that would be how I would bring files in. And there's a port here on the side of the machine. I just plug it in, and I can pull files using that. Just make sure that the file you're downloading is compatible with your machine. My understanding, different machines have different files that are compatible. So something to think about. All right, so I am going to go to my designs here. The heart was favorites, and then obviously the letters were the fonts that are already loaded onto the machine. And I'm going to go, these have all sorts of designs in them. I'm going to go to the freestanding one, and I'm actually just going to choose this heart because we are making heart earrings for my daughter for Valentine's Day. So we are just going to go ahead and select that. All right, a few things. On my machine, I want to make sure that I have the correct presser foot selected, and I do. That is presser foot 26, and that is correct. That is what is selected. And then for the hoop, right now it's selected for medium, so I'm just going to click that button, and I'm going to go to my small hoop. As you can see, this earring it doesn't have to be an earring, I guess. It could be an ornament or whatever, is way bigger than what the small hoop is, and so it has outlined it in red, but that's okay because we're going to resize it. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I'm going to press that twice so that I have the grid. So this grid is compatible with, can you see the purple grid? So if I hold that up, it's this, not what I meant to do. It's the same size. I mean, it's a little bigger, but it's showing me the shape. So I can gauge my size by looking at where this falls in relation to this. So this would mean that this earring as is like each one is bigger than this area, and that's a very large earring. I really want an earring that'll fit in this quadrant and one that'll fit in this quadrant. So we're not wanting them too very big. And again, because this comes with my machine, I can easily adjust that. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we're going to close out of this. I've X'd out of that, and again, it's showing up red because this file is too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the I here, and I am going to resize my pattern, or my, oh, for heaven's sake, my earring. And I can go, if I've got this selected here in the center, it's taking everything in proportion. So I can go and take this down to like half. And I'm using the knob. You can kind of see I'm using the knob here. Although I could also go up and down with buttons. But this little link button here is what's making the width and the length go down the same. Oops. Okay, so I'm at 50% of the original design. Now, if this were a design that I had brought in again from another company, I could only do 20%. So I could only either take it up to 120 or take it down to 80%. So I'm just going to move this over here real quick. And I don't need things to be really lined up because, again, I'm going to be cutting these out. So it's not like I'm trying to center this on anything. And I can take this a little bit bigger. So we're going to go up a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to keep, I was at 50 and now I'm taking it up. Let's go to 60. Okay. I'm happy with that. Okay. So now what I'm going to do over here, I've got my layers. So this is each little piece of the design is layers. So I could put multiple designs and kind of create my own picture here if I wanted to, like if I were adding a name plus a design plus maybe another design, depending on how intricate I wanted to make it. I can make multiple layers here and pull from each one, but I'm just going to go, oh wait, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Just kidding. I want to go, oops, nope. Oh wait, back to that. Okay. Sorry, I just went back to the edit. That's not what I want to do. I want to, this little button here where it shows a shadow, I'm going to create a second one, and then it went ahead and mirrored that for me. And I want this second one, so you can see this one's now grayed out. This is the one that I'm messing with, the one that's together. So now over here, I have the entire design that's what it looks like, and then each layer, and each one of these hearts is a layer. So I want to mirror it, so I want to flip it, so I'm going to use this one to flip it. So I want mirrored images, and I'm just going to move this one over, just so they're not on top of each other. And there we go. I have two identical sized pieces, a left and a right, and it's going to fit nice and neat into each of these little quadrants here. So that, again, matches up with that. So once I am pleased with what I've got here, and I am, I'm going to hit, okay, I think I close out of this. Okay. Ooh, okay, then I hit the needle, and now it's doing its thing here. I don't have a hoop in yet, though. Okay, so now it's telling me to put the hoop in. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to show you right here how we're going to hoop our stabilizer, and then we'll put our hoop in, and then we will let it do its thing. So one of the things that was recommended to me was that you keep your water soluble, that's a hard word to say, water soluble interfacing in a Ziploc bag so it doesn't dry out. So I will get a nice big Ziploc bag. This is a brand new roll here. Ugh. I'm going to save that tape because that might be nice to roll that back up when we're done. All right, so I want a piece. I also want to make sure, and I keep that label with this roll too. I want to make sure that I've got a piece, and I think I can just cut one. I want to make sure that it covers the entire hoop. So I'm going to cut a piece about this width. And again, I'm hooping 2 layers of this. So you can see this okay. All right, so I've got width-wise, I mean, I've got enough length that's here. So I'm just going to set the stabilizer out of the way. Let me put some tape back on it so it doesn't unroll. And set that out of the way. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I actually think I'm just going to double this up and not worry. You could cut it, I'm sure, but I don't know why you can't just fold it. I'm wanting it double anyway. And we're going to hoop a double thickness of this Badge Master. So what I want to do first, you want to make sure on this hoop, let me turn my light back on so you can see a little better. We'll turn it back off before we hit the screen. So I have here, I've got a little, can you even see that? I've got a little arrow here and an arrow here. So the inner hoop and the outer hoop, you want those arrows to match. So I'm just going to loosen up my little hoop here. I am going to put this down just to make sure. Okay. All right, now I'm setting this on top of my fabric here. Again, my little arrow are going to match up. And I'm just, I mean, I think you guys probably know how to do this. I'm going to just loosen up this hoop a little bit more. You do want this nice and taut. And one thing she taught us was that you want to put this in, start at the top, and then kind of roll it down to push it in here at the bottom. Loosen that up. Like so. So you push it in at the top, so that way it's not popping out everywhere. So if you start at the top and then kind of work your way to push that hoop in, that should work. Alternatively, she said you want to push it. You see how I have just a little bit of that hoop coming out the bottom, like just a little bit? She said you want to do that just a little bit to where that inner hoop is coming out the back. Just a wee bit, okay? And then we want to tighten up the screw. Nice and tight. Taut is our friend. All right. And then she said if you find that you want it, it should be drum taut. Can you hear that? Kind of like a drum. But you can also take your opposite corners and kind of pull things towards the center. I would be a little careful maybe when it's just stabilizer because you don't want to stretch it out. Obviously, if it's fabric, then it's just getting nice and taut. So we don't want to rip anything. Okay. So now we've got just 2 layers of this Badge Master stuff hooped in here. And you can put your little thing down and it will show you where it's going to be stitching inside the hoop here. But again, I'm not having to, if I had fabric that I had marked a center mark, this would come in very handy. But since I'm just arbitrarily stitching onto stabilizer, I'm not going to worry about it. So the way you do it with the Bernina is that you pinch your little guys here. I'm going to slide this under the presser foot real quick. Pinch these, and then it slides on top. Ooh, like so. Okay. And it liked that because my little light started blinking. All right, and then over here, oh, let me turn that light off again. All right, then over here, it's going to show you how it's going to stitch it out. If you wanted to change colors, I'm just doing all one color. So now, I just believe I've got my bobbin is pulled up through the back there. I've got my top. I just press. All right, I had to turn it off. The table was bouncing. All right, so here I go. Here are my little earrings that are all stitched out on this Badge Master. Okay, a couple of things that I learned. So I have the what's it called? The Isocord thread, which is a rayon thread and it's slippery in the bobbin. I did not have, I've done this since I saw you last. I put the net on this. My machine did not like that the thread kept kind of sliding down on the bobbin or on the spool, which is what happens with this type of thread. This made it perfect though. So just stick the little net that comes with your machine over this type of thread, this rayon thread, and then feed it through, and I had zero troubles once this was on. I feel like this should have been on when I did my bobbin too, because I was having issues with my bobbin kind of sliding around. It could be that because typically you don't have the same thread in the bobbin, so it could be that, it's just a little, more persnickety when you have this type of thread in the bobbin, or it could have been that I didn't have the net on when I wound my bobbin. So I'm going to try that next time I do the freestanding lace. I just had to pull the bobbin out a couple of times and just kind of pull the thread had like fallen off the bobbin a little bit, and I just had to pull that out and then start it back up again, and it did fine. But I think that probably would be eliminated had I done the bobbin with the netting on. But all in all, very pleased. So now, as you can see, my little design here has the flag, which means it's all finished. So I can hit the flag, and now that is all done. Another thing I did, this box here that's lit is the basting stitch. I went ahead and basted around the outline of my design, which you can see is the little box that right here, which if this were a garment, that'd be super easy to pull out. Obviously, I'm just going to cut it away because I'm going to cut these out, which we'll do in just a second. But I do like that. It kind of keeps especially because I have 2 layers of interface or a stabilizer here. I feel like that helped, and it made my machine like that a little bit better. But my machine would be ready if I wanted to make multiples of these. So now it's all ready to do the same thing I just did again. So this button is flashing. So if I, took this piece out of the hoop, hooped it up again, I could do a second pair in the same color, different color, whatever. So that's something that's kind of nice as well. I can also save this design if I just really like this and did in fact want to make a whole bunch of these. I could go, oh, okay. So it's here. If I go to the folder button here on the far right, I can hit this heart folder, and it will put my design into the heart folder. Sorry, that shouldn't have taken me as long as it did, but there you go. And then I can, have that design as much as I wanted. But let's go back over to the table, and I will really quickly take this out of the hoop, and I will show you what we do next. All right, so I've taken it out of the machine. I'm now going to unhoop it. So, kind of hard to get into the screw of this small one. Got a bowl of water here as well. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm just going to pull these out. I'm using just some applique scissors, and I'm just going to come in here and cut pretty close, just so I have less stabilizer to get rid of. I will say, for my first foray into embroidery without an instructor here, I am pretty pleased with how this has come out. I also want to say, if you're interested in doing stuff with the water-soluble interfacing or stabilizer like I just used, save your scraps, because you can cut this into strips, put it in water, and like a tub of water, and then let it completely dissolve, and then put like slinky fabric like your Bimberg rayon or your silk I actually don't find silk too hard to work with, but any of the rayons or polyesters that are really, really slinky, and soak it in that water that you've dissolved this stuff in, and then hang it up to dry or iron it dry or whatever, and it will make it really stiff, and then it will wash back out again when you're finished working with it. So that's a great way. I know a lot of people use the gelatin method, but that's another great way to use your scraps. So I'm going to put this in a baggie, and we'll save that for a rainy day. Bias tape, if you want to soak your bias tape, I know a ton of quilters do that. And stabilizer, you could do that. Okay, so I've got my little earrings here, and now just gonna stick them in the water here and use my fingers to get rid of that stabilizer. And again, I had 2 layers of that thick stabilizer, so this may take a little bit, and you may just want to let them soak for a little bit as well. Okay, so I'll do this off camera because this may take a little bit longer. But you're just gonna let them soak, and then I'm gonna take and hit them with a good steamy iron just to get them nice and flat, and kind of dry them a little bit. And I'll meet you back here, and we can put the backs in them, and then they'll be all ready to go. All right, so now I pressed them flat and everything else. Okay, thoughts about these? Well, here, let's put the back. I've decided to go with the kidney ear wires. I don't make jewelry. I don't know anything about any of this. I was just kind of, these are also very stiff, I'm noticing right here at the beginning. I'm sure those loosen up. But for $3 for a package of like 42, so 21 sets, I feel like that's pretty good. Okay. All right, so I've gone with the kidney ones. So we've got this little hole here up at the top. So now I'm just going to thread the base of that onto the little base part of the earring, and that's it. And then this part here will go through her ear right there, and then it's got this little catch here that will make sure it doesn't fall out of her ear. So see how it that little piece wraps around. But there we go. We have got heart earrings. Now, this file, again, I made it 60% of the size that it's supposed to be. I think the lace would probably be much prettier if it's the size that it were supposed to be. It muddied up just a little bit in places, which is to be expected because I did shrink it so much. But I mean, I'm still really pleased. I think that's going to be a good size for her. And this was my first time without help. So I'm going to call this a win. So feeling very good about this and feeling very good about the first time with my embroidery machine. So now I can't wait to do some actual embroidery. Well, this is actual embroidery, but embroidery with fabric here very soon as well. But here are our Valentine earrings for my daughter. And yeah, I think that she's going to like these a lot. All right, if you have any questions about the embroidery or different stuff, maybe, I mean, I'm not an expert. This is the first time I've done the embroidery with this machine, but I will help you as much as I can. And again, University of Sewing is having the 25% off sale, as is the OESD website. So I will link all that down below if you want to go take a look and do a little embroidery shopping if you also have an embroidery machine. All right, guys, that's all I've got for today. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye. All right, so there you have it, our embroidered free lace. I'm not saying that right. Our embroidered earrings. It was a pretty painless process. Only had to untangle the bobbin a couple of times. And again, I think if I threaded it with the netting on the thread to begin with, I would have avoided, it would have threaded the bobbin better. I think. The rayon thread though is just very slippy. That's why those little nets come in so handy with the thread at the top. And typically when you're embroidering, you're using embroidery bobbin thread in the bottom, which is, I think, just a cotton thread. So, but a real thin one. So, anyway, I think that was just that was the only issue I was having. So maybe Had I had the netting on when I wound the bobbin, it would have been a different story. But even so, it still wasn't awful, and I think that my little earrings here are just adorable. So I'm excited for my daughter to come home and see her new little earrings. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, definitely give it a thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I hope you all are having a wonderful Valentine's Day and are with all of those that you love. Doesn't have to be romantic love, just all those that you love, period, around you. And I will see you guys again on Friday. We're going to be going through a week worth of my winter capsule, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about how I'm feeling about my winter capsule and, you know, the different outfits and just some thoughts that I've got all about my winter capsule so far as we're winding down that season. We'll be starting spring capsule here in March, so that's very exciting. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday, and I will see you guys again on Friday. Bye.